And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. So do me a favor, let's get there. Hit subscribe, watch, comment, keep the comments coming, and share with friends because the stupidity, it never ends. Meanwhile, it's just another MAGA Monday meltdown. I mean, that's what's going on today. Taken right to center stage, Bullshit Barbie took to the cameras and spoke with Fox, of course, about the big, beautiful bill, about tariffs, and yesterday's attack in Boulder, Colorado. Now, she started by saying that the bill is the most historic piece of legislation to ever move through Congress. I think what she was making a comment is that it's like the biggest bullshit bill, but she turns around and she said that the biggest bill and the most historic piece of legislation to ever move through Congress. I mean, clearly, someone drank a lot of Kool-Aid this morning. You could tell because both her lips and her teeth are blue. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Play the clip.
This bill is the most historic piece of legislation to ever move through Congress in modern history. Not only does it save nearly $2 trillion, but it also delivers on the president's key priorities. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime for our law enforcement officers and all those who are putting in extra hours to make ends meet for their families. It also ends taxes effectively on Social Security for our seniors who are dependent on that Social Security income. It also has historic investments in border security, historic funding for the Golden Dome and our national security, and so many other incredible things are packed into this bill. So now it is before the Senate. Those discussions are ongoing, but the president is not going to back down from those key priorities that he promised the American public, and they are expecting Capitol Hill to help him deliver. We made the bill through the House. We need to get it through the Senate, back to the president's desk here at the White House as soon as possible.
I mean, and the Oscar goes to Bullshit Barbie. I mean, yeah, sure, it's the greatest piece of historic legislation, more like, piece of shit legislation. I mean, what is she talking about? No tax on tips, and then she brings in police overtime? Well, that's not a tip, right? That's a salary. That's a wage. I mean, I don't even think sometimes she knows what she's talking about, but she says it with such excitement. I mean, she's really in the wrong field. She should be in Hollywood. Meanwhile, this was great. She also slyly threatened Senator Rand Paul on what Trump would do to him if he votes against the bill. Play that clip.
Oh, how do you win over Rand Paul, and what changes is the president willing to see to this bill?
Well, anyone who votes against the one big beautiful bill, including Senator Rand Paul, will be voting for a tax hike of more than $4 trillion on the American people, and their voters will know about it. That is unacceptable to Republican voters and all voters across the country who elected this president in a Republican majority to get things done on Capitol Hill. And this...
Yeah, let me be very clear. It's about as close to an outright threat as anybody could make. Meanwhile, a reporter goes on and asks Karoline if Trump is speaking with President Xi, which is important after Trump lashed out at China this past Friday. Play that clip.
President Trump has talked about wanting to meet with President Xi for a long time. Kevin Hassett over the weekend previewed a possible conversation between the two of them, including possibly this week. Has that call been scheduled, and what is the president hoping to get out of that call with President Xi?
Well, sure. She asked about the potential call with President Xi. I can confirm that the two leaders will likely talk this week. And as always, when there are foreign leader calls, we will provide a readout of those calls. So we'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you, Karoline.
Yeah, questions were getting tough. Time to run, Karoline. Meanwhile, another reporter then asked her for the White House's reaction to the Ukrainian drone strike. It's funny because she did what Trump did when they were asking him questions about Charlottesville. They go ahead and they play the good people on both sides card. Play that clip.
But as for how the president feels about those talks and what took place there, I'll let him speak on that.
What's the president's reaction to that Ukrainian drone attack, stunning drone attack on Russian air bases? I'm sure he saw that. What's his reaction?
Well, look, the reaction is this war needs to come to an end. And this war has been brutal from both sides. Too many people have died. And the president wants this war to end at the negotiating table. And he's made that very clear to both leaders, both publicly and privately.
Yeah. Let's also not forget he also made crystal clear to the American people that this was going to be over in 24 hours. Right. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, yesterday in Boulder, Colorado, a man has been charged with a federal hate crime after attacking a march in support of Israeli hostages. But before I show you what Karoline had to say, oh, sweet Karoline, what she had to say, I want to read you this blurb from the New York Times. In it, it turns around and it says, Mr. Soleiman, 45, entered the United States from Egypt in August of 2022 and stayed illegally after the visa expired in February of 2023. This is said by Tricia McLaughlin, a spokeswoman for the Department of Homeland Security. The Colorado terrorist attack suspect, Mohammed Soleiman, is illegally in our country, Ms. McLaughlin said in a post on social media. She added that he had filed for asylum in September of 2022, but gave no additional details. Now, here's what Karoline Leavitt had to say about this. Play the clip.
What's the White House's perspective on this?
Well, FBI Director Kash Patel is absolutely right. And the president just put out a very strong statement condemning this attack. This terrorist came into our country under the previous administration. Joe Biden's administration foolishly gave him a tourist visa and that allowed him to unlawfully remain in our country. This individual should have been deported. Instead, he was welcomed here. And now, 3 years later, after coming to this country under Joe Biden's administration, he is lighting Jewish people on fire who were simply trying to peacefully pay respect to the hostages in Israel. This absolutely is an act of targeted terrorism. The FBI and the Department of Justice are investigating it as such, and the president is going to ensure that this individual is held to the fullest extent of the law. And not just this individual, but any individual, especially illegal criminals who engage in acts of terrorism, will be held accountable under this president.
Wait, let me be very clear about something. First and foremost, yes, the act is absolutely a hate crime. He deserves to go to jail for the rest of his life, for all I care. But are you trying to say that somehow or another, somebody who comes into this country with a valid visa, that you're supposed to know in advance that this person was going to commit a heinous crime like this? I mean, because of course, only Donald and of course you, Karoline, and the rest of the acolytes and enablers, only you have that crystal ball that you're able to determine. Why not use that crystal ball and find all of the illegals since you're at it? I mean, you have Department of Homeland Security, got the FBI. You even now are trying to bring in additional law enforcement to round up people. You haven't done such a great job. Meanwhile, it's done under your watch. I like how everything will ultimately fall on Biden, especially when the guy came in with a valid visa. I want to show you now the statement that Trump put out, aka a Truth Social post. Now, I want you to note that he doesn't use the words Jewish or anti-Semitic, and I'm kind of wondering, you think that that's on purpose to not anger maybe his white supremacist base? Let me show you what he said. In it, he turns around and he writes, yesterday's horrific attack in Boulder, Colorado will not be tolerated in the United States of America. He came in through Biden's ridiculous open border policy, not true as you just saw, which has hurt our country so badly. He must go out under Trump policy. Acts of terrorism will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This is yet another example of why we must keep our borders secure and deport illegal anti-American radicals from our homeland. My heart goes out to the victims of this terrible tragedy and the great people of Boulder, Colorado. Now, let me just sort of break that down for one quick second. Really, why didn't he say acts of anti-Semitism? I mean, he certainly talks about that when he talks about Columbia University, he talks about Harvard, starts going after the educational facilities, but why not? Why not? I mean, that's really what it was. They were peacefully protesting and marching on behalf of the Israeli hostages. Oh yeah, those are the same hostages that Trump said he'd have back even before he took office? Now, look, I want to point out that MAGA will now use this horrible man, this disgusting human being, as a reason to deport anyone and everyone without due process. And to prove my point, I want you to listen to what Karoline said when she was asked about potential sleeper cells here in the United States. Play that clip.
Is there concern in the administration that there could possibly be some sleeper cells here in the United States? What type of pattern is the administration looking at as far as terrorist cells?
Well, there's certainly a concern that the previous administration allowed way too many terrorists and illegal immigrants into the interior of our country. And that's why the Department of Homeland Security is working overtime to arrest, detain, and deport as many illegal criminals and terrorists that we can in the United States of America. And any act of violence will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Okay, prosecuted to the fullest extent of law? All with you there, Karoline. But this guy came in with a visa. I mean, what if hypothetically I'm going to go to Italy and I need to get a visa and something happens? All of a sudden, that makes me an illegal? Yeah, he overstayed. I get it. And he should have been followed up, and then he went ahead, he filed for asylum. But the way that they're framing this thing is completely untrue. It's why I ask each and every one of you watching, share this program. Share my YouTubes with your family, your friends. Tell them to join the community, subscribe, watch, comment, share. Share with as many people. Bring them into the community. We must put a stop to this gaslighting, to this misinformation, this disinformation, and this malinformation once and for all. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.